and welcome. This is World Gospel Impact Church. My name is Sthabile Mazubane. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are watching us on YouTube, then we'd implore you to kindly please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is World Gospel Impact Church. If it is Facebook that you are coming in from, by all means, please make sure that you hit that like button. We're talking toxic parenting Part 2, or should I say 102. This time around, we're looking at it from a very different perspective. We're looking at it from a perspective of the children themselves. You would have remembered, if you haven't checked out the episode, it is up on our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook channel. Make sure that you check it out. I'm going to hand over to my guests shortly to introduce themselves. And maybe as you introduce yourself, just give us your own definition of what you think is toxic parenting, or maybe a toxic parent. And I'm going to start on my left.
Okay, hello, hi, my name is Kagiso Zungu, and my definition of toxic parenting, it says itself, toxic parenting. There's not more to define, it says itself.
All right, self-explanatory. We'll expand on that a bit as we move on. Brother next to Kagiso.
Hi, Kamala Mutebolenko Ndamane. My definition of toxic parenting, or what I think is a toxic parent, would be a parent who is absent. Honestly, I think an absent parent could be considered toxic, but also if they're there, but also they're too much, also it could be toxic.
I love that. I really want us to come back to that. Parents that's there too much and they're not there enough. Your definition and your introduction?
Sanibonani Kamala Ndamane, and I feel like my definition of a toxic parent is a parent who is not willing to communicate with their children and not tell them stuff like bazoyibonela bona, like they want to tell them, but they're just too scared to open up to their children because they're scared that they're going to push them away, or they're going to show like a different side of life that they've been trying to protect from them.
All right. Brother on the far right.
Sanibonani, igama lami nguLinda kaMthembu. I feel like my definition of toxic parenting would be umzali who's not supportive emotionally for ingane, because I feel like our emotions umuntu osamncane are very fragile. So I feel like umzali who's there whenever you need them, that's what I would say a parent. And if you're not there, you would be toxic.
All right, we've opened it up, really, this so-to-called can of worms. You talked about communication, we talked about time, we talked about the emotional support that comes from our parents. I'm going to implore the parents at home to really open up their hearts and minds to lean into this discussion. And Eba, I'm going to come back to you. You talked about a parent that's there not enough, or that's there too much. How is that a toxic trait? How would you see that as being toxic towards the child?
So if you're, like I said, there too much, so you're in your child's business too much, like you're not giving them the privacy that they want, and you want everything to go your way, so that, in my opinion, would be considered toxic. But at the same time, if you're not there for them emotionally, like Linda said, then that's also pretty toxic.
All right, so Kagiso, he talks about giving your child some space, but also not wanting too much space. So how are your parents supposed to know? Or how are your parents supposed to know that, okay, now we're giving Kagiso too much attention and we should probably give him some space?
Okay, first of all, the kids of now, most of us have phones. So if my mother does not check my dad's phone, I don't get the reason why I should check our phones.
Ooh, okay. So you feel as if when your parents are checking on your phone, isn't it the child's responsibility in Kazimulo to know what's going on in their child's life, what's going on in their phone, in their friendship circles? What's too much? What's too little?
My parents going through my phone is wrong.
What makes it wrong? What makes it wrong? It's bad.
It's my personal privacy. I don't go through your phone. Why should you go through mine?
Personal privacy for a phone that I bought, Linda. You're living under my roof. What's privacy when you're living under my roof and you're in my house and you're using everything what's privacy?
I feel like that's where I was going to go. Like, if you are still under your parents' roof, I feel like it's compulsory ukuthi uphile ngaphansi komthetho yabo. Because ekugcineni usayingane, you are not grown enough ukuthi uzenzele ama-decisions by your own. Because I think kusakhona ama-experiences esazodlula kona as iy'ngane that are going to make us better people. But our parents have been through that. They know better. So I feel like we should listen to them and adhere to whatever they tell us.
Adhere to whatever it is that they
Wait,
tell
can
us.
I say-
Kazi, you don't seem to be agreeing with this.
I'm not. Yes, we're living under your roof, and we listen to your rules. I see Shuguti, by you going through our phone, that means that we're gonna change us listening to your rules. It's not gonna change. We're still gonna listen to your rules, but that's still my private property. That's still my private space.
Private property. Private property. How do you define this concept, Kachi? So you're the one that led us to this point of private property that you didn't acquire yourself.
Obviously, we didn't buy ourselves phones, but then as a person, we also tend to need our own privacy, because if you don't check our phones, it doesn't mean we won't respect our parents, because at the end of the day, they're older, and we also need our space. So if we don't check their phones, then I don't see the need to check our phones.
All right. Certainly, this phone issue is becoming the one that's coming up every now and again. Okay, I want us to draw back to communication that we spoke about earlier on. Ngazi, I know you're the one that opened this one, but I'm going to bring it to you, Bles. How then is this communication, or what does this communication that you feel is toxic looks like to you, or in your understanding?
So, first of all, if you and your parent are just linked in that way emotionally, then it's easy for you to go to your parents and say, okay, ma, kanje, anje. So there's something that happened at school, and I need your help with something like this. But at the same time, if you're not, then I feel like your parents shouldn't be like all up in your face about it. It's like, but at the same time, they should give you your space and step back and be like, okay, it's fine. I'll talk to them when they're ready for me to talk to them.
Kazi, how would you like your parents to communicate with you? How do you, in a way that makes you feel as if, yes, I'm being regarded or I'm being noticed here? How would you like your parents to communicate?
Okay, I feel like my parents and I do have a really close relationship. So kuba lula ukuthi ngicommunicate nabo. But I feel like there are stuff that I can't communicate with my parents about, but she as a mom or he as a dad can see, and they come to me and they ask what is wrong or talk to me about what is bothering me. Because I feel like with my mom, I was in her room for 9 months, so we kind of have that connection. So she can kind of link that emotion of when I'm not feeling okay, she can kind of feel it, she can kind of sense it. So when I'm not okay, she can talk to me about something, or angaz, but somehow she's a parent, she can also say, and it's something to do with this, and she's gonna know what to say to make me feel okay, or to make me open up to her.
You guys seem to be wanting your parents to be like some sort of mind readers. They must know this is too much, and they must know this is not enough. Linda, I'm going to come to you, and you talked about emotional connection if they're not giving you that emotional support. What does that emotional support then looks like for you?
I feel like for me, it would be umzali uyayazi ingane yakhe. You know, you can tell umntana engekho right emoyeni. If I were to come back from school, go straight to my room, not greet anyone, okay, so
So you guys want to bang doors and not talk, and yet you're talking about communication.
I can't come back at home, you know. So if they feel like they have that time to talk to me, they're going to come to me and right. But if you did not come to me at the same time, I'm going to understand what's okay. At the time. But eventually, you need to come to me and talk to me because I wasn't okay at that time.
All right, I want us to look also at this idea then. I'm going to come to you, Kagiso, with this one, of conflict resolution. So let's say you and your parents didn't see eye to eye on something. What's the right way of coming to common ground between yourself and your parents?
Well, for example, if my parent and I were to argue, and then I'd probably first of all go to my room, think of well, what are the consequences of what I've done, and then I try to resolve it myself. Then I go to my parent and fix it. And yeah, and another thing I want to add to is that as he said, if a child comes back from school and just goes straight to the room, and the parent asks what is wrong, and then you're quiet, and then they start shouting. I said, "What is wrong?" I feel like that's wrong, because then if a child's quiet, he wants to
Have their own space.
has his own
Space.
space. Yeah.
Again, this concept of space. And Kazi, I'm coming over to you. What's the right way? What's the right way of resolving conflicts
I feel-
between parents and children?
I feel like you have to talk to your parents about things that you don't like of what they said. And personally, I don't believe in corporal punishments because I feel like it's wrong. I feel like the more you shy and the more you're making them rebellious. But other people believe that it's the right way of fixing a child, but it's not, especially in the day that we're growing up in.
What about the Bible, Bles, saying that corporal punishment, or it doesn't necessarily say corporal punishment, but it talks about uswazi. Ukuthi ingane nje uswazi liyayiqondisa. What do you feel? Do you feel like corporal punishment is crossing the line and being toxic?
At some extent, yes, but I feel like ingane needs to be disciplined. Like, obviously, ingane angeke ukwazi ukuyishaya to the point where you're giving them scars, but
ayishayi ingane.
yeah.
All right, Linda, what does discipline look like to you?
I feel like discipline to me would be, before having to go into corporal punishment, ingane ayazi into wrong. Yazi ukuthi njoba sengishawa manje, I've been warned before. Kwathiwa lento le ekanje ungayenzi. Politely, khona abazali abangakwazi ucommunicate nengane kahle. Athi mayibona ingane yenza into wrong, even if it's for the first time, they overreact, bagcine sebeshiya izinto ey'fika kabi kuthina. I feel like you should, at your calmest point, communicate nayo ingane utshele ukuthi what you did at this time is wrong. I wouldn't want you repeating the same mistake. And then if you do it the second time, then they can take measures of corporal punishment.
All right, this is World Gospel Impact Church. We're talking toxic parenting or toxic parents. I want us to look now into this idea when our parents' best interests are at loggerheads with our own wants and our own needs, where we feel like even though our parents have our best interests at heart, but this is not what I want. How then do we find this balance? How do we strike this balance between our parents wanting what's best for us and we being our own individuals? Kazimulo?
I feel like parents sometimes are kind of wrong with what's your best interest. Because I feel like sometimes I know what my passion is and I know what my interests are. And I feel like you're never giving me the opportunity to explore or show you what those interests are. And if you don't give me that opportunity and that platform, you're never going to know what they are.
Kaki, so when your parents are not giving you an opportunity to explore your individuality, are you feeling like that's a toxic trait?
Not so toxic, but not right. Because as children, we need to know, we need to experience other things. Because then, for example, if your parent feels like, for example, being a gamer is not a real career, and because when they grew up, there was not much of gaming in their time, so they wouldn't understand why us children would want to be gamers. So I feel like they should give us a chance. When we fail, try to just encourage us or something, and then when we fail again, then we can talk again. So like if we don't want what they want, I feel like they should give us chances, and then if you fail, then we can talk again.
Ebo, You want something else, your parents want something else. Where's the common ground here?
Well, I don't think you're going to find any common ground if both the child and the parents are toxic. So if you're a toxic child, that can also lead to your parent being toxic, vice versa. But just like Kagiso said, like about the example on gaming. With gaming, it's not a thing they've considered, or they haven't been exposed to it, and they haven't considered it as a career choice for anyone who's just thinking about it. But obviously, us as kids, we think, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm interested in, and I want to do it no matter what. But obviously, the parent needs to be there for the child. The child can also listen because the parents are obviously much wiser. They've been through that phase of being a child. So we also have to listen to what the parents have to say, unless obviously you think it's just irrelevant.
All right, before we close it off, I want us to then look at this idea. Is there some sort of accountability, some sort of responsibility we as kids can hold on to in the sense of driving our parents to a point where we feel like they're being toxic? Can we drive our parents to that point?
I feel like we can, because as ingane siyahlupa. That's just it. It's part of being umntwana, uyahlupa. And we should try looking at things in the perspective yokuthi abazali have been where we are before. So umzali mayithena ungayithathi le ndlela. Uyazi yena, they've been there. And I feel like we should just listen and try and do things their way, not completely their way, but sibabonise ukuthi uzwakele, and I'm going to try and be the best person I can be.
Kazimulo, can we account for some of the traits that we feel like our parents have and are toxic? Can we hold some sort of accountability to that?
Yes. Yes, we can. And I feel like also parents should allow us to make some mistakes and let us grow from our mistakes. And I feel like if you're trying to grow some child to be a perfect human, that's just never going to happen. Because we all make mistakes. And I feel like as a child, you learn from your mistakes. And I feel like if your parents don't talk to you about stuff that are going to help you grow as a child, then you're just never going to grow.
All right, Kagiso, before we close off, can you account? Do you play a certain role?
Unfortunately, we do. Because as kids, we do the bad things, and sometimes we tend to forget what our parents said when we were at home. And then when you're with your friends, and then you just do something else. But then, when you, at that time when something's going on, you think you're the mighty. So what your parents told you, you think, I know what I'm doing. So like, to be honest, us kids, unfortunately, siyahlupa, and we don't see it. And then when our parents tell us, we feel like we try to defend ourselves too much. Sometimes we just accept that you have done wrong.
All right, Clebo, as we close it off, if you were to advise parents at this parenting thing, just from your perspective, from your own level, what would you say to parents that are watching us at home? Just a little bit of advice in terms of making their parenting experience that much better for them and their kids.
So I would say just listen to your child, but at the same time, like, they must be able to listen to you as much as you listen to them. So they must give back the energy that you're giving to them. Also, going back to the privacy issue, it's if you don't trust your child to the point where you have to check their phone like every day, then that's in a sense being toxic. So.
All right, your last words, Kagiso? You're imploring to the parents at home.
Privacy issue again. Unfortunately, if you don't trust your child, then there's no trust in the house. So if there's no trust in the house, it leads to both child and parent being toxic. So trust is actually key to not being toxic.
All right, trust being key. What's your one piece of advice, Nkazi?
I feel like parents should learn how to communicate with their children. Me personally, I speak my mind, and I feel like parents should also learn how to do that with their children. And I feel like you should also like have a really, really close relationship with your children that you guys can talk about anything. Because once you reach that certain level of your bond or your relationship, it's easy to talk about anything and to trust your children and not go through your phones.
All right. I saw that wink there. Linda, your final words, piece of advice.
I think parents should just create a bond with their children. Ayikho into ehlula ukwazi ingane, because if uyazi, then you get to know whenever something's wrong. Usheshe uyilawule inkinga without having to find out at a later stage ukuthi ingane siyenza into wrong.
All right, you've heard it here firsthand. This is World Gospel Impact Church. We implore to the parents and the children at home to continuously explore their relationship even further. We talked about communication, privacy. We talked about trust. How then can we find the perfect balance between the two worlds? My name is Sthabile Mazubane. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.